Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to our Zoom our Zoom meeting here for Rising Star Academy and our youth soccer talk. Today we have Missy Swajkoski with us. She's a good friend of mine who I've gotten to speak with at events in the past. We met in Mississippi, speaking to youth soccer families down there, and it was great to hear from her and get to know her because, like I said, kind of in my email, if you got the invitation for this, I've been coaching and doing this for 25 years, and I've been presenting for the past 10 years. And Missy's one of the absolute best presenters and soccer parents I've ever heard. And she's not just a soccer parent, you know, like she's involved in U.S. club soccer. Her experiences sort of have a more of a full scope or like a holistic viewpoint. So like, as I mentioned in the invitation to join this, she is someone who has a depth of knowledge to base her experiences and her decisions off of, and all this advice that she has and can give us an insight. So what I'd like to do is, well, first of all, everyone also is on mute right now. When Missy's done with her piece, we'll open it up for questions. So when I'm done talking, I'll mute myself as well. And then when we want to ask our questions there in the Q&A time, you guys can just, unmute yourself, ask your question, and then mute yourself again so that it keeps the hopefully the video camera part of this meeting going well for everyone. And then I will have a talk at the end, a brief about COVID-19 with college recruiting, some of the things going on with that, and some of my advice toward how you can better navigate the spring and the summer. But right now, I would like to take it to Missy and her parents' perspective on supporting our kids during this challenging time. So Missy, it's all yours.
Hi. Okay, thanks. Hi, everyone. How are you? You can't hear me. You can't talk. Okay, so this is kind of different because I'm so used to standing up and talking. So if I use my hands too much, forgive me. Just a little bit about myself. I worked in the public schools for 17 years, elementary, high school, and junior high. I retired 2 years ago, but I kept running into my students at lunch, and they missed me, and I missed them, so I'm back subbing at the high school. So I kind of am in touch with them, and I know what they're thinking right now. I have 4 children of my own who we went through the college process, and one girl who we were the guardian for. So we've worked with 5 kids that all played soccer and went to college, and we went through the college search process with them. 2 played in Division I. 2 decided that looks like a job. I just want to do intramurals and have some fun. And the girl who was with us as a guardian went to community college and then on to just didn't play after that. But so I have a little bit of perspective from all that, and I hope I can help you with this. I'm going to tell you that right now, you and how many of you can raise your hand for me if you have a senior, if your child is a senior. Okay. How about juniors? Those of you with juniors, okay, sophomores, okay. Right now, the kids are thinking about things that don't relate to soccer at all. Their whole thing is, we're not going to have the prom. We're not going to have graduation. If you have a spring season, in Idaho, where I live, the kids play high school in the fall, but a lot of states, they play in the spring. And now they're not going to have their spring season. And they look forward to that. High school is social and fun, and that's where they get together and do stuff. So they're totally worrying about all that. If they're juniors and sophomores, they are worried about, oh, I've got to get my SAT in, I have to get my AP test in, I have to do this and that. Along those lines, my oldest daughter is a high school calculus teacher, and she has sent me information, and my school district sent me information that the AP testing is being adjusted. The prep courses and the tests are being adjusted. That information will be coming out to all the students through their counselors and everything. So everyone's in the same boat. Everybody's doing online classes. So we just have to tell the kids, it's okay. Just relax. We'll work through it. The seniors, they're uptight about graduating anyway. Juniors are really wound tight right now because that's the hardest year. They're trying to make decisions of where they want to go, if they should go to camps in the summer, and now everything is on hold. So there's nothing you can do about it. So you just have to kind of let it go. For parents, on the other end of the spectrum, your concerns right now have been, and probably all along have been, affording college. And now for a lot of people, they're being financially hit even more, with a lot of uncertainty, with a lot of job closures, or people not getting the hours that they normally get. So everything you're focusing on is completely different than the kids, but you're both stressed in your own way. So what I'm going to suggest to you is to just try and realize you can only control what you can control. I mean, you're hearing that from everybody, but a perfect example, my two older girls played Division I, one on the West Coast, one on the East Coast. One was a freshman, one was a junior on September 11th. And I'm like, I want my babies home. I don't want them. One girl was 2 hours from Washington, D.C. I don't want her traveling anywhere. My daughter on the West Coast, her games were all in California and Hawaii. So I don't want her flying to LA or San Francisco or across the Pacific Ocean. And so we had to sit back and wait. Seasons were postponed, things were delayed. We had to, the schools and the counties and the cities had to look into safety issues and security and everything like that. We got through it, but at the time, it was an uncontrolled situation for us, and we just had to sit back and only take care of the things we could take care of. Can you guys nod your heads if you're on the same frequency with me? That's awesome. The kids don't want to hear anything you have to say right now. Doesn't matter. They don't want to hear it. Don't say, oh, it'll be better. I don't want to hear it, Mom. Well, this is what happened 20 years ago. They don't want to hear it. This is their first major life-changing event since they were born, because they weren't alive when 9/11 happened. So this is major for them. And with social media, even more so. When I was working at the high school on Thursday and Friday when all this really hit the fan, and the administrator said, do not turn on the TV, don't have your smart boards on, don't show the news, just have your classes teach as normal. Well, all the kids are on their phone and they're walking in the room going, Miss Ski, did you know this? Did you know this? Did you hear that? And I'm like, well, no, because you're not supposed to have your cell phone and I'm not supposed to be watching the news. But they knew everything. So they're up on it. They're watching it. Social media is good and bad. I mean, that's everybody's opinion, but they're seeing everything. So just let it, just stay calm as you can with them on that. Without the coronavirus situation, as parents, you're getting ready to help your kids navigate moving away from home or going somewhere else. It's stressful for you, it's stressful for them. So just try and keep on an even keel. This time where you have your children at home, I'm assuming everyone is at home. You can't go anywhere, right? And I live in Idaho. They just put a shelter in place, so we're not going anywhere. Now is a time to spend some time with your kids, because even in the best of circumstances, when they leave home and come back, the dynamics just aren't going to be the same. So, and they're not going to be bad. Well, they might be sometimes, but because they're independents, what do you mean I have a curfew? Well, I don't have one in college. Use this time to make some memories and have some fun with your kids. Do silly things. I mean, do things you might not have done otherwise. You'll be surprised. They really do like that. How many of you have photos of them playing soccer on your phones or on your cameras or everything? Now is the time to pull all that off and put it on a DVD or print it and go out. And if you have girls especially, get glitter and markers and stickers. The boys like markers and ink pens that they can make a mess with. Get photo albums or scrapbooks. Give them all the things you've been taking pictures of or collecting. If it's a newspaper article, if it's anything about their soccer experience, and give it to them. And let them have some downtime, which they have time. Let them make something with it so that they know you've been following them. You've been interested in all this, but this is a chance for them to kind of relive and do things because they're not able to play right now. The kids are wondering if there's going to be school. They're wondering when there's going to be school. So are you. The biggest thing that you can try and do is help them get in a routine and stay in a routine. I'm assuming your schools are doing online classes, have set things up like that. This is a great time for them to learn some independence doing that, because in college, they're going to be doing a lot of things online, particularly if they're playing soccer. They're going to be traveling. They're going to have to keep up with tests while they're away. They're going to have to keep up with their work while they're away. So now is really a great time for them to have a test run with that kind of stuff. They need to also realize that they have to stay physically active. And I know Jason will have another guest speaker next week. I think Stacy, who'll talk about strength and conditioning. But there are tons of tutorials online. The ECNL has things going on. US Club Soccer has things going on. US Youth Soccer has things. You can Google anything. There are a lot of tutorials on ways to stay fit and keep your fitness up. Emotionally, physically, that's great. But also what if they get back to school in May and they actually have 3 weeks of a season? They want to be in shape to play. They want to be in shape for college. They're going to do this during the summer anyway. It would be important to just get that as part of the routine now, so that they're training with that. They really do like their independence, but they also like structure. And it's finding that balance for all of you all to do that. I mean, for parents that are stuck at home now too, my 2 older girls are home with their children now, and they're like going crazy because they're like, what? I saw this great note the other day that no one will ever ask a stay-at-home mom again what they do during the day. Now, your kids are older, but they can't go out. They're not supposed to be going out. They're supposed to be at home, and they want to be out in their car, and they want to be seeing their friends and their social, and they can't. So by having a lot of things organized, or just encouraging them, nudging them along to keep up with their stuff, keep a routine, have a set routine, they're going to be happy with that. They're not going to like you sometimes about it, but they are going to be happy to have that structure and that independence to, look, I'm going to get it done when I need to get it done. They're responsible, they'll do that, but it's helpful for you to kind of be aware that that's a big help for them. This is history. They should probably keep a diary, keep an online thing with notes, or keep something. This is the first time a pandemic like this since, I think, 1918 with the Spanish flu. So that's before all our times too. This is a great time for them to keep up with this. Just record their thoughts. 20 years from now, they'll be able to say, I was there. This is what we went through. So that's kind of helpful for them.
Yeah, and to Missy, if I could ask
Yeah.
also, so to kind of piggyback on that, yeah, I noticed that could be a really good strategy. My daughter, she's 16, and we were talking the other day, and she started to journal a little bit. It's tough to keep it up consistently, but I think it's also been a good stress reliever too, like with all the social media going on and kind of the roller coaster ride of uncertainty. I really thought that was good. And I would say to all the parents too, again, to piggyback on a couple of those things, just thinking through how we're communicating with the kids and also handling it for ourselves. I mean, it helps to have that, that communication. And I think that, most of us know that, but I mean, I just have felt it personally. So I think some of the talks we've been able to have at night or hanging out has been really helpful to relieve some of the pressure and stress on the situation. And then kind of shifting gears into my question, I had that one question about some of the strategies. Because I know in Missy's experience, one of the things that blew me away in the talk that we had in Mississippi was kind of the level of play and some of the things your kids went through. But later on, we talked about it, and you did things to support them so well. So I know you might be getting to that, but so either not right now, but maybe in a minute. But I think that's a huge question, because as I see people come into the room, I know some of these people, and I know that, you know, it might be valuable for them to hear some of the strategies you had in terms of what do I do to inspire or help my player if they're considering college, or what do you do in relation to this whole thing beyond high school?
Sure. No, I'm happy to do that. And, you know, on the diary or keeping notes, it's if they haven't been affected yet, that's great. But if you have a family member or someone that, for us personally, our cousin was the first death in Oregon from the coronavirus, and my children knew him. And that really hit home because they're like, what? So it's helpful for your kids. A lot of times they don't want to talk about things, but they will write it down. The other thing, I have a couple friends here with kids in high school, and they take their phones away at bedtime because some of the worst things you can do as adults as well is be on Facebook and be on social media, because then you don't get your rest and you're just keyed up on everything. So just some suggestions on that. Strategies, it's kind of funny. 30 days ago, I was in Orlando, Florida, registering 120 kids for one of our national camps. And one of our coaches on the camp was Tiffany Milbritt. You all recognize that name. She was FIFA Player of the Year. She played on a few World Cup teams, US Olympic teams. Well, when my daughters were 6 and 8, my two older ones were my intense players. They said, I wonder if I want to play in high school and college. And so I said, well, we should go watch a college game. Not on TV, not on, you know, and we really didn't have social media then. I said, so let's go to a game. So Portland, Oregon is only an hour away for a flight. So we flew to the Final Four and saw Mia Hamm and Tiffany Milbritt and that whole group in the Final Four, UNC, University of Portland, and everything. And the first impression for my girls was, oh, they're not any bigger than me. And I mean, Tiffany's only 5'2", you know, and all of a sudden they realized, oh, well, maybe college soccer is an option for me. Maybe I could do that. So one thing I'm going to tell you that I would suggest to you, how many of you and your kids have seen a college soccer game in person? Yeah, see, not many of you. So, but you're around colleges. It doesn't have to be a Division I school. It doesn't have to be, if you have a daughter, she doesn't have to go see women play. She could go see guys play, but go see a college game. Get an idea. For some of them, they're going to go, oh, my club team could beat that college team. And for some of them, they're going to go, wow, I could not play at that level. But at least they're having a chance to see that. Trust their judgment. When you are, they're going to internalize everything because they're thinking about school and they're thinking about their friends and who's going to what college and do I want to go with them or do I want to play soccer? So just support them. They're not going to talk to you. Just listen, be there to listen, be supportive, and they will come to you when they're ready to talk about some stuff. Be realistic with them. These are their dreams, not yours. For me, I was in high school when Title IX passed. So when I played field hockey in college, I had to pay for my uniform, pay for my coach, pay for my travel, pay for my training, pay for the field to train on. I didn't have any money. I had to stop playing because I had to work to go to college. So when my children finally had the opportunity, I'm like, wow, this is so cool. And then I had to relax a little bit and go, okay, this is their opportunity, not mine. What do you want to do? And go with the flow with them. When you travel, when travel starts again and you go to tournaments and things like that, whatever town you're in or city you're in, go look at a college. Take them to look at a school. Take them to see, is this a university with 30,000 kids or is this a small liberal arts school with 1,800 kids? Not necessarily promoting that particular school, but just letting them get a frame of reference of if I see something about a school and I know it's in a rural community, I know what that would be like. And the benefit of that is you also go to the admissions office and you get a letter that you attended there and you turn it into the high school and then they have an excused absence so they're not being marked absent all the time and counting against them. That's just a big help. They're old enough to drive now. But if you're picking them up in the car or when you get home, do not rehash everything that happened in the game. They know what happened. They don't need to hear it from you. They don't want to hear it from you. Don't help them coach. Just go there and be their cheerleader. I know everybody's busy. We have a lot of commitments with work, with other family members. We do have other children. I was lucky. All my children fell in love with soccer. But not everybody has that, you know, and you have to spread your time around. But one of my friends would complain about having to keep up with her 3 girls. And I said, you're going to lose control over 10 years of your life, and then they're going to be gone. You can clean your house then, but spend the time with them, because when they're gone, they're gone. And like in my case, when my one daughter went and played on the East Coast, it was 2,500 miles away. A, I couldn't afford to get to all her games. B, at the time, they're not being streamed on TV. So when they're done high school, you may not see many games, maybe one a year if your kids are playing. So spend time with them. And I'm going to say, if your child is a child that doesn't get a lot of playing time, it's really important for you to be at the game. You're there for them. You're not there to watch how much they play. You're there for them, and they know you're there or you're not there. So I'm just going to say that's huge. Make it fun. I put a note down here. So when my kids were, my oldest daughter was a senior, they opened a new high school. So the kids moved from another high school that had won the state high school tournament years and years and years in a row. And it was the first year in like I said, soccer's in the fall. So I met with all the girls on the team. I said, you know, you get to build traditions. What do you want to do? What do you want to have? What don't you want to have? And one girl who is very outspoken goes, I want to know why we don't get snacks after the games. You know, we always got snacks, and then you go to high school and you get nothing. We're hungry. And I'm like, okay, are snacks really a big deal? And they're like, snacks are really a big deal. And I said, okay. So we talked with the parents, and on the days of away games, we did a lunch at school. And on days of every game, parents had a snack list, brownies, cookies, whatever, junk. The kids loved it. It was fun. Okay. Make it fun. When your kids stop playing, it's probably harder on the parents than it is on the kids, because you have built up your relationships since they were 6 or 7 or 8. And now all of a sudden they're like, what do you mean you don't want to play? But how am I going to see Bob and Sue? And how are we going to talk on the sidelines if you're not playing? Don't put that pressure on them. Maintain those friendships, but, you know, give them a break. They may want to make some changes, and that's part of life. I think that it's really important that you all communicate. Ask them what they want or don't want. They'll tell you. It may not be what you want to hear, but at the same time, feel that you can reciprocate to them and maybe say, hey, I took time off from work. It would be really nice if you would acknowledge my presence and that I'm breathing and that I'm here and that I love you no matter what. Now, you don't have to ride in the car home with me, but it would be nice to just wave at me or something to just let me know, you know, I'm there. And it's okay to be honest with them with that. Jason had mentioned there was a parent asked about a balancing act. It's really hard to balance your time. You have work, you have school, you have religious activities, they have sports. Most of them are also involved in other activities. They're taking upper level courses, a lot of them. As a family, you all need to sit down and prioritize and have them tell you what is important to them. When is it important for me to be there? When is it important for me to do something? And as a family, talk about how are we going to accommodate everyone in the family, including the parent. How are we going to work together? Is it mealtime? Is it whatever? And have a few rituals or traditions that no matter what, they can depend on. That they know there's going to be dinner at whatever time. There's going to be something at least one night a week. Have some structure like that, but work together as a family to figure out how we're going to do it and balance that together. Does that make sense for you guys? Jason, yeah, did you have a question?
No, I was giving it the thumbs up because
Okay.
also in Mississippi, I remember that when we kind of talked with the parents through it, how you had a calendar, like you
Oh
suggest
yeah.
to really look at the dances and the proms, the events. So when we get through what we're going through now, and I even think that applies to college. In my time coaching in college, our team was just as much of a family, or even more so sometimes than in youth soccer, because the players and the coaches and everyone's around each other so much. And we also would have pizza after games, and the
Yeah.
parents would come eat with the kids. And so it's like, even when your child goes beyond high school, it's still important to have those conversations, because like when Missy said, well, one of her daughters played on the East Coast, well, you could still pick a game maybe, or a parents weekend or so. I think it's really helpful to have those locked in, even from both sides, for the player to understand and know and be excited and look forward to those things as well, to have that structure, and for you as a parent to be able to plan on it, as a family to get excited about it. You get to make your own little Super Bowl over the year. You get to make your own World Cup. You get to have your weekends or your moments, even if it's not every weekend, but you still get to do your thing together, and you've all discussed it and planned on it, and you know what's important.
Well, and that's funny because you all aren't going to I can talk to you now about it because my kids are grown and gone, and I'm on the other side, and so I can look at it a different perspective. It's different when you're in the thick of things and everything's going on. Two things that stick in my mind. You talked about pizza. We've had pizza on Friday night ever since my husband and I got married. And when the kids came over, anybody showed up, they knew there was pizza here at our house on Friday night. Sometimes I had kids come over that my children weren't even here. The year I had we had the girl at another high school, we were guardian. I had 2 seniors at 2 high schools. So I'm feeding 8 million children from 2 different high schools. And I would have Jen's friends show up for pizza because it's Friday night. You don't realize, but you're doing these things. They remember that. So once they've all gone to college and whatever now, sometimes they come back in town. Are you still having pizza on Friday night? I'm like, my God, you're 35. Yeah, we're still having pizza on Friday night. And they'll come by. And the other funny thing was I always have iced tea. I'm from the South. And the girl who went to community college ended up getting her PhD. She at Oregon State. She brought her fiance here to meet us and was visiting. And this was a couple weeks ago. And she said, "Oh, do you still have iced tea?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, I sure do." And she goes, "Rob, she always has iced tea." So, I mean, you don't know little things that you've done. You don't know what's going to stick with them. When Jason was talking about the calendar, those of you that have juniors that will be seniors next year, I'm going to suggest that you work with your child and you put together their school calendar. Anything they don't want to miss. The prom, homecoming, big dances, big games, an important game, district, state, anything like that. So you have that calendar put together so when it comes time to go on recruiting trips, they can say, "I'm busy then." You can always go on a recruiting trip. The coaches are always going to have people coming in. You only get one homecoming your senior year. You only get one thing your senior year. So keep track of that because that's important for them to do. And you don't want to miss out on that kind of stuff. The other thing that Jason had asked me to talk about was things that I thought were most helpful and least helpful. Give them their space and be positive, but don't BS them. They know if they had a really bad game, don't say, "Wow, that was a good game," because they'll just look at you and go, "I played terribly." They don't need to know. Just say, "It was fun watching you," or "I'm glad I got to watch you play," or anything like that that's positive.
Or at least it's over. That's a good one there too.
That's
Get on
another
to the
good
next
one.
one. Forget
That's
about it. Keep going.
that's that's true. Like, well, we don't have to watch that again. Don't go talk to their coaches. The coaches don't want to talk to you. The kids need to talk to the coaches. And you don't need to know what the coach told them. When I do these national ID camps, the parents all want to know, what did they say? What did they say? And I said, well, you should ask your son or your daughter. But they're the ones that have to implement what the coaches have told them. So they're the ones that need to do it and take the responsibility to do it. So that's, and then help them stay balanced. Have good meals. Have good snacks around. Have things that they can grab and go that are healthy. Have a routine that they need that. You need that. I mean, and we get kind of harried where we're never around. When my kids were playing, we didn't have weeknight games. We had all games on the weekends. So we had 7 games every Saturday. So I'd leave at 7 a.m. and I'd get home at 7 p.m. and all we did was soccer. But they loved it. But it's exhausting. You can't have something like that. Be spontaneous. If all of a sudden somebody says, we're just wet and we're cold because it's raining, can we just come home for a while? Yeah. Let them come home. Tell them to, just go with the flow. Your kids will, then you can hear what's going on too. I used to love carpooling because you knew what was going on. The vans were great because you know what's going on. But let your kids always know they're welcome and their friends are welcome in your house, because then you know where your child is. And laugh with them. Have some fun. This is a stressful time. This is a horrible time. Find time to just laugh with your children. Least helpful is only talking about soccer. Soccer. If they start it, that's great. But if you do, just sometimes they want to have a break from that. Don't get angry if they don't get much playing time. Maybe they're happy with that. I don't know. But that showing your frustration for that just aggravates it more, the situation for them more. So they are already aware of that. And finally, just all I can say is it's keeping it in perspective, being grateful that you can see your child play, being grateful that they're healthy enough to go play, that they're with a group who wants to do things together, that you get to sit on the sideline with wonderful people and meet them and socialize with people and support your kids in a healthy environment, in a healthy way. Just always feeling blessed that you get to see them, that you get to go watch them, that you get to go home and at night you get to say goodnight to them, even if they're driving you absolutely crazy. The one thing with all 5 of the kids that we have with us, when they were looking at a school, and this will be for other podcasts because we can go into more of it, but I will tell you that they might not tell you verbally that they found the school they want to go to, but their whole demeanor is going to change. You're actually going to like them again. They're going to be easy to live with, and that child that you hadn't seen for a year or whatever, they know they've made a decision. They might not tell you for a while, but they're calm, they're confident, they're relaxed. They know what their future holds for them. And I can't put it into words, but it happened with all of them. It was like, oh, okay, you figured out what school you're going to go to. I'm going to wait till you tell me which one it is, but I know based on how you're acting that you have found a good fit for you and you're happy. And that's all you can ask for them. So I know that's a lot, but I hope this helped you a little. I'm happy to answer some questions if you guys have any.
Yeah, and thank you, Missy, for giving us your perspective and some of your experiences. And I know it's kind of a condensed time frame for sure, because we're all trying to fit it all in. And for you guys, we don't want to take up more than that hour, but we do want to open it up to questions right now from Missy. So if you do have a question, unmute yourself, ask your question, no problem. And we'll see. So go ahead and fire away if anybody's got anything at all. I mean, directly to that or anything else related to what you'd like to hear from.
Or if there's anything else you would like us to talk about in the future, I'm happy to that too.
All right. It looks like we have no takers, no questions. All right. So I'll go into my bit and then we'll have questions again after that in case, and we can wrap it. But so my part of this talk tonight is about the NCAA and COVID-19, and also about the uncertainty and how we can handle the spring and the summer and different things. Fortunately, there are also a few people here that I've spoken with about this already. So you'll be hearing some things that we've already discussed. But right now the NCAA is in a dead period, which is just a no direct contact recruiting period. So if there were events going on, which there are not, obviously they've been canceled or postponed, during a dead period, the coaches wouldn't be going to any of those events. They also have eliminated the unofficial and official visits. So there's just no in-person contact with coaches right now until April 15th. To be honest with you guys, my guess would be, based on the way things have played out, is that will probably continue. I don't know that there will be a big need for that to come back yet necessarily. If it does, then the NCAA may have some sort of workaround for that to allow, a certain amount of contact, and we'll see how that would all play out. But right now, all of the coaches in their recruiting process are more focused on phone calls, and they're looking at their, in Zoom or any other thing they can do, Skype or whatever it may be. And they're looking at the 2020 class first. Of course, for those seniors, this is mega and devastating on some level for things that they had planned out. It doesn't mean that it's devastating in the whole process. It's just really hard to handle. And the coaches hadn't really dealt with this before as well. So it's new for everyone. And I know that the most important thing in college sports is really recruiting. I was in, there's the other important stuff, which is what you do with your team. But if obviously making your team and who's coming and who's going to play where, that stuff's really important. And, so that's kind of just in general what's going on right now. It's not much different than anything else we're seeing. So I think that trend will continue. I know our school district has postponed again. They started off postponing things until April. Now it's May. Obviously it's headed toward June, and maybe it'll just be online school for the rest of the way. I think whatever the NCAA does will pretty much follow whatever the national, trend is for that. So that will eliminate a lot of the visits. It's already eliminated for some of you camps and tournaments and things you are planning on going to. So what's important for me to convey to you right now is the way that you want to approach these things will depend on where you're fitting into your process and your timeline. It also depends on what type of recruit you are as well. So if you're more of the recruit that's you're being pursued for potential scholarship money, or you're seen as one of the top 5 or top, even top 10 recruits for a particular program, the way that you'll be communicating and the feedback that you'll be able to get will be more direct. You'll probably already feel it or know it. I was asked this the other day, actually, by someone who's a senior. And so if you were a senior now and you're being looked at more like as a walk-on, the scholarship things and the other stuff that goes with it, the more critical conversations, well, you're not really having those anyway. And so what the coaches are doing is prioritizing to get with those kids first, who are a little, higher up on the pyramid in that little narrow band of 5 or 10 kids that are going to be recruited or probably going to get some sort of scholarship for soccer or whatever. And so now those are the people they're trying to go through first in a thorough way. And then they're getting to the secondary and third, which would be like a recruited walk-on, or then just a pure walk-on or somebody. So they're kind of working their way through the levels right now. And I think it's been going pretty well. I've heard from some coaches already where they're asking me about certain players that we have in our program, or kids that I have coached in the past. And so college coaches right now are reaching out, they are communicating, but they're doing it in a way that's sort of, which makes sense to everyone here, I know, so I won't dwell on it too much more, but they're starting with the seniors and then kind of working their way through there. So the good news is, if you're not a senior, you're pretty much in a fine position, in my opinion. I think, in fact, this could even be a good moment with this pause to really have conversations as a family about the deeper decisions that have been going on, or the deeper sort of thoughts toward what you're thinking now. Because as we know, our kids, are growing, they're changing. We're looking at this, and you're trying to figure out what's important to us. And we've always kind of been through that. So I know there are some there are families in here that I work with. And so I know that this, but, focus on yourself. This process is about you. It's about your family. It's what's best for your kids, what they're going to do, much to what Missy's point was about, this is their thing. We can't live that life for them. We're obviously wanting to do everything we can to support it. So I would say, use this pause as an opportunity to prepare for what what we're looking at academically, have those conversations again, scratch some schools off the list, and then look at a few others that may be outliers. Maybe they're reach schools, right? It's not a given that you'll be accepted into the school. It's not even a given that you'd maybe be able to play there necessarily, but that you're pursuing it. And so now it's time to kind of revisit that. The other thing would be for those in more financial need would be to evaluate kind of other routes if it's feeling like maybe the Division I or Division II choices aren't there. Maybe the Division III schools are a little more expensive and you're looking at SAT scores and grades. So what you want to do is evaluate where you're at right now. Use this moment to then trim some of the fat, so to speak, like cut some of the things out of the way so you don't have to focus on those anymore. And then move forward with this smaller list with a more narrow idea of like, these are the things that are most important. If it's financial, then these are steps that we may take, or other schools to consider avenues. Again, those are all things that we can do during this break. The other thing would be to look at the camps and look at the summer. So for your juniors and sophomores and freshmen here in the room, looking ahead at the camps, we've had camps get canceled or postponed, so they've been rescheduled. So take your school list that you're working with and then go through and do your diligence on those, and make sure if you know you have narrowed it down to at least a top 5. Again, you might have 15 schools on your list still, which is totally fine, but at least you've got, your top 5 or top 3. Look through those schools, make sure have they postponed the camp, where they might be coming your way. And so I know I'm doing that right now as well, trying to support our families. So again, if you have a question to me about that later, I've talked with a few of you already, we'll continue to look and monitor, with you. And as more families find out the changes that are happening with different camps and things like that, I get communicated with on, and it helps the whole community. So if you're seeing some of the camps that have been postponed and you're seeing new dates, that's great. Those are the things you can circle on your calendar. But I made notes to myself too, to have a plan A and a plan B and maybe even a plan C, because right now we may not be able to return to the full. I don't know that we would. No one really knows, right? So you can look at the camp that might have been moved from May to July, let's say, but just be aware and be prepared for if it wasn't going to be in July. And then, what would we do? And of course, those are bridges we need to cross when we get there. But I think it's important for like I do with my teams, is to understand that there are different ways to get where we want to go. We can still get where we want to go. Like we could still win this game, right? We could be down 1-0, we could be down 5-0. We could still win the game. It may not be how we initially thought we would, but we could still do it, right? So it's important to communicate that together, so that if something were to get canceled or postponed, if there were that, then you're limiting the potential for any real deep impact, because we knew, like, it's not going to be a huge negative if, let's say, the PDA tournament gets canceled. It would be in one sense, but if we're prepared for it ahead of time and we knew that it could be a possibility and we have a plan B or a plan C and we know that we could do these other things, I think that's really helpful. So think about those things for your guys during this kind of pause. Other things I kind of mentioned on here would be getting together in this time to along the lines of preparation to get, if you're newer to this process, and this might not be for everyone in the room watching live, but for some of those watching this recorded, because this is on our website, get a good email together. Okay, get a communication strategy. Coaches are right now receiving these emails. If you are a junior or older and you're working for Division I or Division II schools, and you're looking at those as some of your top options and working through your list, make sure you're using your email as a chance to get to a phone call. If you're looking at Division III schools more, or whatever the schools may be, just understand that, as much as we're kind of stuck in a way physically, so are the coaches. And so emails and phone calls right now are really big. Get a list together, the questions you would want to ask these coaches as well after you've talked with your family. As parents, we can do the same thing. If there's important questions that you feel like might help, that's okay. I think it works both ways. I know it's just the player. I've heard a lot of coaches tell people, like, we don't want to hear from parents and all that, but understand this, okay? When I recruit you to play at my school, I understand the parents, kind of the vibe of the whole family kind of comes with it. So it's okay for that communication going both ways, and it's okay for you to talk to your son or daughter and then have an important question in there that's kind of from the family, and as a player, that's okay, because then I can appease mom or dad as well. And, maybe, again, the more that we're working together as a team on that. Now, it's important for the player to take the lead. It's important for the player to send the email. It's important for the player to make the phone call. But definitely, you're the support behind the scenes, and you are very important in this process. So if you have some key questions, put that on the list. Other things, of course, we've talked about before, but for those of you out there that might be joining us here, seeing me for the first time or anything like that, it's important to have some highlight video put together. If you have video, like Missy said about pictures earlier, putting scrapbooks together, I would do the same thing for highlight videos right now. I know some of our parents in the room are pretty good at editing and these things. That's a good way to keep yourself busy too. It could be a fun project to do together. It could be a miserable project to do together. So it might be something that you just kind of need to take the lead on. If you're in Rising Star and you really need some help, you let me know. You all already know that, but let me know. I can help you, edit certain videos at times and all that. So happy to help. But you can, now's a good time to go through everything, catalog it, see what are good highlights, what aren't. If you have any game footage you can cut up. It's okay to cut game footage up into 10-minute increments or 15 minutes. You don't need to send a whole game to a coach necessarily. I tend to do that later in the process, once the coach has either asked for it or we know that we've built up this momentum. Coaches realistically are not going to watch a random player's full game that they sent them. It's just not going to happen. That's not going to be the first thing I'm going to do if I just necessarily met you out of the blue. If I've been following you, it's a different story. But when I get to know you, then I will look at the games, further. So chunk up some game footage where your player might have played well, your son or daughter, put that together for them. And I said before, get prepared with an A, B, or C. Camps to attend, check, can't even read my own handwriting in some of this, but, complete your recruiting questionnaires. So for your players to have activities, the kids can go out, go through their college list and make sure they filled out every recruiting questionnaire on those websites. Make sure that they've, if they're looking at Division I and Division II schools now, and you haven't done it already, get on the NCAA Eligibility Center for those of you that are juniors or older. So again, if you haven't done it, I know most of the people in the room have, but for Division I and Division II, you need to be on the Eligibility Center to make sure that you're eligible to play, that you're not already haven't been paid, and that you've taken the correct classes and all these things, which obviously those things are important. So now's a good time to do it because you have this, this pause. So those are
Jason, if I could, this is Missy. One thing along with keeping up with all the recruiting stuff, they need to keep up with their schoolwork, because coaches are going to look and see if this student can work independently when they're not in school and not in a structured environment with teachers and everything else. Because the last thing a coach is going to want is somebody they're going to have to take care of, because they have plenty of kids to pick from. So I think now is a great time for them to get caught up and get ahead on all of their schoolwork and bring up everything they can and do anything they can so that the coaches can see that they are good working independently on stuff.
Absolutely. Definitely want to stay up on your schoolwork. And, you just kind of, again, I just view this as I try to view everything as an opportunity as best I can. So I want to impress that upon, anybody involved in like my teams, and kind of the way I view what I do is that, you're all kind of part of my team and we're all working together. So I think those are really good kind of just general overviews. I know for a lot of you, you've already heard that. We're going to open it up for questions. I could go a lot of ways with these. I mean, I had a few other bullets. I mean, the long-term impacts of COVID-19 for youth soccer or for college, I would say right now, we just don't know. So the longer term impact could come into, if it's recruiting, it could be that these tournaments and things get pushed back so much, right? And, they're looking at obviously the Olympics on a larger scale. They're, going to reschedule that for 2021. I think we will see certain events, they either will drop them all together and just pick them up next year, or there may be some things that happen once we can all get back out there, where there may be other events that come up or tournaments have been sort of reorganized to still happen in a way this year. I know that college coaches, for any sport, that's the lifeblood of the program, is bringing players in and recruiting and how we scout and do all these things. So it is important for everyone on the recruiting sense. But at the same time, it's so unknown. It's hard to say how that would perfectly play out. Well, other longer term impacts directly to our youth soccer. Yeah, I mean, we're seeing, besides event cancellations, where we may see some sort of changes in the way that people give, just interact. I mean, this has been so unique. I'm curious to see what happens when we all come back. I'm curious for myself to see how I feel out, getting out there. I mean, I'm not scared, but at the same time, I mean, I remember, so the last day before my school district closed down, I'm coaching middle school girls soccer, and I go up to the referees and the coaches on the other team, and we're like trying to elbow each other and do all that, hair. And then the guy comes up, the main ref, who's like 85, 1,000 years old, just sticks out his hand and grabs my hand. And he's like, he's doing all the wrong stuff. So it's kind of funny because I'm just like, well, whatever. I mean, I don't know where this is going to lead for people's just sensibilities and the way they feel about things. So, but yeah, right now I would say, like I said, get organized, continue to do your research, figure out when your camps and events could be, start marking those down on your calendar just in case, check them again. Okay. Fill out your recruit questionnaire so you're on the email list for the school. You will start hearing about these camps. All of you have been getting a lot of emails. I know some of you that haven't will, because your kids are younger, but now they're going to be going from sophomore to junior. The junior year especially, you're going to get bombarded with things. And, just take a pause, communicate, maybe have a small family meeting, or just, 5-10, well, I say 5 minutes, it'll be 10 or 30 or whatever, but just talk some things through, make sure you feel like you're on the same page. And it helps everybody. Then your player knows you're there for them. They know, that it's comfort, right? Whether we all know that though, but it's a comforting thing. So keep that good stuff up. It's not overly complicated. Those are just kind of my main, just generals. So I will open up to questions about anything and everything for the next, 10 minutes, depending on questions that we get. So feel free, anybody that has a question to ask us. And we can go from, yeah, Amanda, let me get you here. Hold on. I'll unmute you. How about that? If you are on video right now, I can unmute you. So I'm going to unmute you. All right. What's your question, Amanda?
Yes, I was curious if our coaches, I guess, that are recruiting like junior athletes right now, are they going to be kind of a little bit hesitant about recruiting, not knowing how this is all going to pan out? So I know, because I believe that, current college seniors are going to be able to come back for a possible fifth year. I guess that could possibly happen with the fall. So would they be hesitant about picking up new players, not knowing how things are going to pan out? I mean, I'm not asking for a crystal ball, but I'm asking, like, are they going to be a little bit more hesitant just to see how this all pans out, maybe cool things until maybe where spring of your junior year was like the main recruiting period, maybe that moves to summer or even fall because they just don't know.
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. I think it depends on, it depends on where I think the player would fall in the hierarchy, right? Because the way recruiting is set up is just like what I've advised you guys to do in reverse, right? It's like you have your 20 or 50 kids, and then you start narrowing that down. And then you sort of put your laser focus on your top 5 to 9 or 10, depending kind of on your scholarships and other things. And again, I use it loosely, like scholarships. I mean, I played Division III soccer. You can't get a sports scholarship, but it's just the same. I mean, they're looking at their top 2 or 3 recruits differently than number 13 on the list. And so I feel like it's unlikely that it'll affect it in terms of, hey, let's not know about these kids. Like, I think they'll want to know about them, and they'll probably be in a similar, I think the NCAA will make remedies for that. So for instance, if a senior now wants to come back again and use this as another year of eligibility, I believe the NCAA will still allow the same amount of recruits to come in. It'll probably be a school by school basis though for Division I and Division II, because the school, not only does the NCAA dictate how much scholarship money you have and how much resources you have, your school limits it, right? I remember, I mean, I'm not going to name names here, but I went on an interview, and I'm happy I didn't take this job, but basically the easy thing about not wanting to run this soccer program was the athletic director was proud to tell me that out of the 14 possible full scholarships I could have at my disposal, the school is so academically focused that they would only give me 2. And I'm like, that's not awesome, right? Because that's very limiting. So what's going to happen within the school structures is they'll have to figure out as a school, will they limit scholarships if, or not? Because the NCAA may say, hey, you can have 14 full scholarships, let's say, for women's Division I college soccer, but we're going to actually allow you to have 16 now, right? Because we know, or maybe if you've kept an X amount of players have stayed and they're on scholarship, we're not going to count that against you. We're going to give you some reprieve and not count that against you. Well, if that happens, the school would still have to be supportive of, doing things. And so that's just one example of it. But no, I think that's a really good question. I feel like coaches always want to stay up on their players coming in. I don't think it will impact it too much to these juniors, but they probably will feel some different ripples from this. But I still believe it'll be fairly business as usual once we get back. And the big downside for juniors right now is they're not competing right now at some of the major events. I mean, the Las Vegas Players Showcase is a massive recruiting event. The ECNL events are massive recruiting events. We have PDA coming up. That's a massive, massive recruiting event. These are top 5, top 10 type of recruiting events. And the fact that those aren't happening is a disadvantage. The thing that lightens the blow is it's happening to everyone. And so those of you who have started the college process earlier, or those of you that there's a few in the room, I'm proud to say, I'm happy to say, we started this a year or two ago. Like, you guys are not going to be hurting too bad because of this at all. It's just, you're not going to have any extra hurt because of this. It's just going to come down to right now, whether, if you're, especially for like Amanda's, daughter in this case, if she can continue to get in those phone calls. I know one camp was canceled, a visit was canceled. Those are still important things to do if possible. So please have those in your plan A, if we can get back to things by, May, and then maybe still have them in your plan B for later in the summer and so on, and be as flexible as you can be, and just try to be calm about it, guys. Like, we know that, but just stay calm. I've had to do the same as you all have. We've had to cancel flights and rearrange things and try to get money refunded. And there's a lot of stresses going on with those things. So I would just hope you guys, stay calm and cool with it. And I think our juniors will be fine. I think college coaches will still recruit just as much as they were before, and that they will still have roster spots. And I believe if there were scholarships or roster limits, the NCAA will offer some sort of flexibility with that. And then the institution itself will hopefully be able to offer. But again, that's a case by case with each school. Was that, and I'll unmute you, was that good?
Yep.
All right, cool.
And
I love your backdrop, by the way. You have to teach me how to do that, the blue screen, green screen, whatever you're doing, I want to do that. All right.
Okay. And Amanda, I wanted to mention to you that, all these major tournaments that have been canceled, or a lot of them are going to get rescheduled because the clubs depend on that income to function, and the communities that sponsor it depend on that. And they've planned on it for a year. So all the hotels and all the rental car places and all the restaurants that benefit from these major tournaments are going to work with the different groups, PDA and ECNL and everything, to find a way to reschedule it, if possible, during the summer. So just be on the watch for all that, because financially for a lot of those towns, they're going to want to get back economically bringing in business again. So I think that, a lot of people are looking toward that, but right now it's uncertain when that might be.
Absolutely. Any other questions for any topic at all? We can chase anything you want for the next 5 minutes. Nothing? No? Paul's like, no, I'm out. Paul's good. Old pro here, by the way. I could go through and tell you all about how awesome each one of you are and experiences you have. And so that's really cool that you guys could join us. I really appreciate it. So really, no questions? Feeling pretty good? Yeah.
Just one question. I'm asking, really, say, during this time period, what is suggestion of the continuing the bodybuilding? Definitely working in a home or staying at home will be a challenge to keep up to shape, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, Young, it's going to be really difficult to keep in the shape that you need to keep necessarily. It's just a commitment. It's a commitment to be made. So what I'm doing is planning. So we're going to have Stacy Wilson join us for a talk next week. So I'll confirm with her, tomorrow what day she can do it. So what I'm doing right now is putting together a resource page on Rising Star Academy. Should be hopefully ready by Monday or Tuesday. It's going to have a whole litany of a whole bunch of resources for you guys and workout plans. We're getting workout plans in. Stacy's taking the lead on that. For those of you who don't know her, you just look her up. She was considered to have the best body in women's soccer. She's just fast, strong. Because Stacy is trained, and she's really, I mean, people like that have that level of insight can give us some great workouts. But the cool thing about working out is it's doable. It's just a decision we all, we have to make, right? And so I think for the players out there that get a routine, I would say for parents too, to kind of support that in the terms of the way we've kind of talked about having some bit of a routine, some things you can rely on. I would encourage them to, as best you can, right, with whatever the dynamics of the relationship is there. And if players that are listening too, I think I see my hair over here, whoever. So look, get on a routine and train. And what you need to do is you need to do some ball work every week. You need to do I would do some body resistance type training. If you don't have resistance bands, next week, Stacy's going to tell you all about them. So you need to get some resistance bands, okay, and get on some resistance training. And you'll actually be surprised, because if you focus in on speed and agility right now, you're going to see significant gains. The other thing is, if you can just keep your base like enough, you're going to be fine within a few days of getting back. If your base depletes, you're going to be in trouble. The good news for our kids is they're kids. Like it's not like us. I mean, if I had to get in shape right now, it would take me, I'm going to say 7 months. And I feel like I'm being pretty, like, it might not be. I might be giving myself too much credit. It might take more than that. So the reality of it is right now, some of the things you need to do at home are more geared toward injury prevention, keeping my base solid. I recommend yoga. Okay, now is the time to increase your flexibility, increase your agility, work muscles you kind of didn't know you have. That's what the resistance band training will do. You can do that like twice a week. Remember that when you do work out and you push yourself to the limit where you're going to do muscle damage, which is what we call overload. If you're going to do overload, you need 36 hours to recover. It doesn't mean you can't work out the next day. It just means you don't go to overload again. So you don't push it to the point, right? So that's like when you lift weights and you do leg day, you don't go back the next day and do leg day again. Now you work your arms, your chest, whatever. So have some kind of coordinated plan. For kids, I would say 1 day speed and agility, 1 day strength, all right, pure strength, explosiveness, plyometrics, or some sort of body weight use, like with push-ups, pull-ups, and different movements, or combine that with some plyometrics, like some box jumps, and then all ball work. So you're going to have a speed and agility day, you're going to have a strength day, and you're going to have some ball work. That's a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That's a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, right? And then for those of you that then with our ball work, some days we're going to need to do technical work on the ball. Some days we're going to need to strike a ball. So you want to alternate that, and you can always work out a fourth day. But if I'm a very serious player right now, I'm working out 3 to 5 days a week. I'm going to use this as a huge opportunity to prepare myself. The worst thing that could happen is you injure yourself. So what you want to do is be smart about it and do your workouts. Your high intensity workout should be, it's 45 minutes. You're not out there for hours and hours, right? Your ball work, well, that could be 60 to 90 minutes. Okay. And you can even work more if you're not doing overload. So if you're not tearing muscles here to go about it that way, then yeah, you can work on something every day that doesn't require that. But as far as making a training plan, my loose template would be the 3 day a week minimum, the 5 day a week maximum. And the other thing we can do with our kids and encourage, which I will have on Rising Star and resources for all this stuff, I promise it's going to be crazy. It's going to grow into a massive library, is study the game. Go on YouTube, grab what I would recommend to players individually for performance. On the performance side of counseling is find some role model players, some players that you like to watch or that play the same position you do, but with some flair or a way you like to play. Find players you respect and go study their game. Watch their highlight videos. This really doesn't need to take more than 10 to 15 minutes in a given day or week. I mean, once a week, watch some video. If you have game footage, watch yourself play. You know what I mean? Take notes on yourself. Like, become a student of the game. What we talked about at Carolina and what we talk about with national team level players and what we're looking at when we look at players is, at a high level is, are they self-motivated? Okay, this is a chance to prove to show yourself how self-motivated are you? Are you self-disciplined? Do you have competitive fire? Are you deep? Are you competitive? Do you feel that competitive edge in you? If you don't, it's okay. Just be honest with yourself in those three categories: self-discipline, self-belief. Can I do it? Am I competitive? And, do I love spending time with the ball, or do I not? Is it a chore? But either way, the players who are serious right now, who continue to want to play, and I don't mean serious in a negative way, like, oh, it's serious and this is terrible. I mean, players who are serious about getting where they want to go right now. This is one of the best opportunities that could ever happen on some level, because everyone has a choice to make right now, whether they're going to work or not. And guess what? 80 to 90% of who you're going to come back and play against did not probably work. So that's your chance. I hope, Young, is that a good answer?
Sorry, I'm mute. Yes, thank you. Yes.
Jason, I have a question. This is Sudeshna. I was wondering that since the kids may have some time, you could probably tell them certain games to look at and have the kids join and give some feedback, because I feel like this is a good opportunity for kids from different places to compare notes on a particular game.
You're on mute.
You're on mute. We can't hear you.
I second you with this, Sudeshna.
Hey, that's a great idea. And thanks. Sudeshna is a pro at Zoom, by the way. She's like the best. Whenever I use it, she's like teaching me how to use it. So basically, yeah, I think that's a great idea. We could watch some games together. I'll probably start with, for the girls, maybe looking at the College Cup from last year or the previous year, so they can look at the college level with me. I'm happy to do that stuff all the time. So yeah, I think that's an awesome idea. And to be clear about it, you're saying I could get online, watch some games, like watch a little bit, be on there for a little bit?
No, I was saying you identify the game, have the girls watch it, then you do a session and ask them questions. Because the thing is that the acumen of watching something without giving feedback is very different from just watching it on your own, right? So it's interactive, and they can all probably point out, and we can, I mean, our club has enough games of our own, we could do that. But the reason I'm asking you to, if you have some suggestion of some games, they can all watch it. And I remember when they go for these tournaments or something last year, I've noticed when the girls get together, I have many times hosted a couple of girls have stayed in my room. So the girls will sit together and watch it. It's very interesting to listen to their reactions, because they obviously don't know that I'm listening to them, but I have been listening to them. And I see that they notice things which I'm like, that's a good thing for you all to see, right, together. So that's what I was saying. It's a good idea to use Zoom in that way, and they do homework, and then people interact better, so just an idea.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. And I like that. And yeah, it sounds like a similar to the team video sessions and things that kids, you're kind of going to do anyway, right? So getting prepared for college, it's all in those lines. And as far as game footage to suggest, yeah, I think that's an awesome idea. And I'll try to think through some games. Like I say, I have a few in mind that might be pretty good off the top. And then the other side, back to kind of like the individual, is look at your position, check out, and maybe that's what I'll do too, Sudeshna, is I'll send a list of some great players that I know. And that could be a good starting point. I know some kids, one of the big things is they just don't really watch, they just don't watch the game. And so it is important when you play to watch. You don't have to watch, every day, but it is very helpful to watch the game. So I will come up with some ideas and send those out to you guys, and let me know what you think. And maybe we could try one. I know Maher is ready, so we'll do one, me and you. But we'll get it together, and we'll see if we can get a group to join us and maybe watch through some games.
Yeah, I think Vivian will join too for that part. It'd be definitely a good one for the girl to, just like Stan said, to compare notes, discuss with each other, and you can help monitor discussion and really give your feedback too, right?
Yeah, that's great. Okay, cool. Well, we'll definitely work on that and schedule something and talk more about it. And I'll send you guys some of my thoughts, and then feel free to email me back and let me know. Are there any other questions or topics we should cover before
Hey, Jason, it's Mark. How you doing?
Yeah.
Hey, Missy, I want to thank you for your insight as a parent. It's awesome. Thank you. Moving forward, have you heard anything about PDA? I know it's like beginning of June. Are they thinking of canceling it? Have you heard anything? Because you live over the East Coast over there. So have you heard anything about that?
I have not. I haven't heard anything about PDA yet. I think based on the East Coast with the spread right now, the state of North Carolina is about to clamp down even more on everything we can do. And our school district started, like I said, saying, okay, April 5th, we could potentially go back to school. Now they've already moved it all the way to May, like May. I don't remember the exact date off the top. So if that continues and that trend continues, I think it will be I mean, I don't want to be doom and gloom about it, but it doesn't seem overly likely that that they'll be back. Well, I'm trying to figure out how to mute. Oh, there it is, mute. There we go. So yeah, I think right now plan A I'm optimistically hoping it still happens, but my gut instinct with the way the timing seems to be playing out, I think it may cut into PDA a little bit. The good news for PDA would be, well, one would be, it would be great if it happened. Two would be if it doesn't happen, but we're able to get back to things in the summer. You know, it's right there on the cusp of the summer, so maybe they could have a different weekend and some things that they could adjust. I know that's an important event out here on the East Coast. I know it. I hope it happens. I want to go up there myself and hopefully, obviously, see some of you guys too. But yeah, right now, the short, easy answer is, yeah, I don't know. But on the East Coast right now, especially in North Carolina and some of the surrounding states, we're seeing April as a coming back point to being pushed to May. And so if I follow the trend on the West Coast, then yeah, it doesn't look particularly great, unfortunately, for some of these events. But we'll remain optimistic and see.
Jason and Mark, thank you very much. This is Missy. You know, in Virginia, they've closed the schools for the rest of the year. Some school districts get out the end of June. In Idaho, they get out before Memorial Day. I mean, it just varies. And so I know I managed 2 national tournaments in June, one in Seattle area and one in Chicago. And as of right now, we're still on, but it's like we have to wait till the government determines what their course of action is going to be. So we're just in limbo, trying to know what's the best way to stay safe. Because the one thing, like I talked to a lot of my kids that were upset the other day about missing their season, who's the one person that's really going to try to come to as many things as they can? A lot of the grandparents. And they are the most vulnerable to come to these, and traveling is just a huge thing. So we're just, month by month and things change day by day. So right now I would follow the PDA website if I were you to see, and they'll make announcements on there as well.
And so for you guys too, another possible plan for that is looking again back at the camps. And in Mark's case, I know we've already looked at camps and we know some of the ones that have been changed, and we're on that. He's on that. So that's great. So I would look at that, the same way. Like if this event in this area gets canceled and these types of colleges can't come see me and I can't go visit them necessarily, then could I do it in June or July? Are there alternative camps potentially for that? I know what that's going to create is a bit of a logjam. There will be an initial kind of push for these things to happen and all the kids are going to jump on it. That's why my recommendation for everyone here is do those things now. Clean up the emails now. Stay with your communication. Do not stop. Check in on coaches. I mean, it's really just a minimum. If you're a junior, it could be like an every other week kind of thing. So twice a month, checking in, and once a month phone calls at least. If you are a sophomore or younger, then it can be, once a month emails, and just keeping in touch. What's going to happen in the recruiting logjam is that the players are going to be prioritized, and the people we put at the top are the people that we've seen their video and we think they can play, and we know their first name and we know something about them, and we've seen that they're getting good grades. Those players are going to make it through some of these filters, and so they will at least be within the top 1 or 2, zones. The kids that don't do much and then they try to do everything at the end when everyone are just rolling the dice. And odds are, what I'm about is putting the odds in your favor. That's not going to put the odds in your favor. Okay, that's just like the kids who go to the tournaments and they only email the coaches like the day before the tournament. Like, you don't do that. You're not, the odds of you really being seen are very slim. Okay. Any other questions or topics we should cover? All right. Well, cool. Thank you to everyone for joining us. Thank you to Missy. Thank you for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it. I hope everyone found this valuable. We're going to keep doing this. I will plan it now more often. Missy will join us hopefully whenever she can. I would love to have you here, Missy.